We're all set for this year's union budget. Finance Minister Sitharaman will be delivering her 8th consecutive budget speech today. According to sources in the country's government's focus really is on the middle class, which can expect some changes in tax slabs under the new income tax regime. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, during his speech ahead of the budget session on Friday, invoked the country's middle class and the poor and hinted that the government is likely to roll out schemes that focus on offering economic and tax relief to these groups. According to sources, the basic exemption limit of 3 lakh rupees is likely to be increased to 5 lakh rupees under the new regime, and the government might include a tax exemption for individual contributions to the new pension scheme, which would help reduce the financial burden on the middle class.
मैं मां लक्ष्मी से प्रार्थना करता हूं कि देश के हर गरीब एवं मध्यम वर्ग समुदाय पर मां लक्ष्मी की विशेष कृपा रहे.
I want to start bringing in some top voices on this union budget. Krishnamurthy Subramaniam joins us. He's been India's chief economic advisor in the past. Also with us, Shankar Iyer, one of India's sharpest economic pundits. So welcome, Shankar. Welcome, Mr. Subramaniam. I want to go across to you first. You've been chief economic advisor in the past, and you would have read the economic survey for 24-25 very carefully. If you were to distill and try and draw signals on what message the economic survey carries and what we're likely to see today, basis what we've heard and read from the chief economic advisor, what are the key things you'd want our viewers to look out for this morning?
First of all, very good morning to viewers. It's good night here in Washington, D.C. If I read carefully, I think the chief economic advisor has highlighted the risks that are stemming from the global economy. And he's also flagged the need for ease of doing business, and especially in the preface talking about the need for the government to get out of the way. You would recall, Rahul, that this had been a theme that had been emphasized earlier as well. During my time as the chief economic advisor in the 2019-20 economic survey, we had written the volume 1 on wealth creation and talked about the need for lowering regulation, needless regulation and complexity for enabling wealth creation. I think that is something that will be really important because small businesses and budding entrepreneurs will really look for some breathing space so that they can focus on doing their business. At the same time, I think while the economic survey has not talked about this as much, my sense is that if you look at social media, I think there will be some aspects for the middle class. But what I'm really looking for is the implementation of the new tax code, because the tax code that we have is from the 1960s and it is 80 years old. I think it's become really voluminous and is essentially is a gold mine for chartered accountants and other tax consultants. I think the budget would do well to reduce their business and really provide more relief to the small business and to the salaried middle class.
The economic survey carries a stern message saying that business as usual carries a high risk of economic growth stagnation, if not economic stagnation. Now, usually you don't see this. You see Shankar Iyer write these kind of things in his op-eds. You don't usually hear the serving chief economic advisor serve such a bitter message. Is that really a reflection of how dire things could potentially be given all the headwinds playing out globally and the need for the government? Because really, from the 4th of June till about the 23rd of November, till the Maharashtra results came out, the appetite for big reforms or big changes seemed to have whittled. Do you think post that this is really the opportunity for the Modi government to bite the bullet and say, okay, we still have the appetite for being big and bold?
Rahul, you have to keep in mind that the economic survey also reflects the personality of the chief economic advisor. I've always believed that the difference between a commentator and a visionary is that a commentator looks for a challenge in every opportunity, while a visionary looks for an opportunity in every challenge. And these different personalities will reflect in the economic survey as well. As for, if we focus on, I think the economic survey actually talks about the need for 8% growth, which you will remember, I have actually covered that in my book, India at 100 as well. And that is what India has to target in order to become, an advanced economy by 2047. And for that, I think reforms are absolutely essential. In my opinion, from a political point of view as well, I think the space in over the next, year and a half is there to do reforms. And I will emphasize reforms are required not just at the central government level, but more importantly at the state level. And let me take this opportunity to also highlight that channels like yours and popular TV hosts like you actually need to be putting the focus on state government budgets as well. I'm hoping that a similar jamboree will also be done when you have the Gujarat government presenting its state budget, or the Maharashtra government, or not just the central government. Put the focus on the central government budget for sure, but also turn it on for the state government too.
There's a big debate raging over whether the slowdown that we've seen in growth is just temporary, whether it's cyclical, or whether it reflects a larger structural problem, as the likes of Arvind Subramaniam have suggested. Now, when I spoke to the chief economic advisor yesterday, he said he saw this as being temporary and he was seeing green shoots of growth accelerating. But then the outlook for next year suggests that the government thinks that, or the chief economic advisor thinks that growth will be between 6.3 and 6.8, which is roughly in the range of the growth anticipated for this year. So if the slowdown in growth is temporary, why is the outlook for next year moderate like it is for this?
So, you mentioned about Arvind Subramanian, and I've actually held the view that Arvind always looks for, negatives in the economy after he's, relinquished office. While he was in office, he used to actually sing a different tune. And I actually do not subscribe to that, such kind of changes in point of view. I think, on the substantive part, there is, in my mind, no doubt that actually India's potential is indeed to grow at 8%. So, without getting into the semantics of cyclical versus structural, I think given potential growth of 8%, when we deliver growth less than 8%, there is absolutely a need for, the budget and overall the government apparatus to actually do the needful to bring growth to 8%.